Alright, so the inevitable exotic armor tuning post was just released, and as you can see by the thumbnail and the title, we're already on to a really good start, but I'll save that for the end because that's bound to start a civil war. Hunters, sealed Ahamkara's grasp. This exotic will now reload the magazine of all of your weapons when you defeat a target with your powered melee, and for 5 seconds after dealing melee damage, you gain increased movement speed and jump height. The jump height and movement speed is actually quite interesting, considering that glaives are all melee damage. Depending on actually how good the movement speed and the jump height is, I don't really know if this is going to be good enough, but we'll have to see. Atheris's Embrace. This is the funny weighted throwing knife exotic. You will gain additional strength while the exotic's weighted knife damage bonus is active. I don't know if they mean strength as in the stat or as in strength as in damage, but either way it's a buff, so that's pretty cool. Next up is Oathkeepers, which is an exotic I haven't heard of since Forsaken, considering that bows are A, not very good, and B, draw time is never really an issue. However, they've kind of addressed that. When a bow is fully drawn, you will gain a bonus damage against combatants that increases as you hold the draw, but deactivates after a few seconds. So there's this kind of sweet spot that you have to hit while holding the draw and releasing it, and you also have to be able to play into that like a fusion rifle where you have to pre-aim and pre-charge a bow. I think that's pretty interesting. They mentioned that it's because that players are playing too passive, but doesn't this make people more passive? Because now you have to fully charge the bow and wait to release it. So isn't that just making it more of a passive gameplay style? I don't know. We'll have to see how it goes in action. Raiju's Harness, that one arc exotic that I can count like 0 people that have actually used it, besides for the fashion. When deactivating your arc staff super, you create a blinding explosion that temporarily increases your arc weapon damage. However, blocking with Whirlwind Guard will no longer consume energy more slowly. I think this is a nerf. I think guarding, or at least the ability to guard for like 25 seconds straight, was pretty funny, especially in PvP. I'm guessing that's why they nerfed it. The explosion is definitely not going to be good enough to make this exotic viable, especially when Raiden Flux exists and is right next to Raiju's. It all kind of relies on how good that weapon damage buff actually is, because deactivating your super is a good thing. It gives you 62.5% of your super back depending on when you deactivate it, so it's actually pretty damn good if you want to use it for that purpose. I just don't know of that many people that want to flashbang you with Raiju's. Radiant Dance Machines. I personally don't even have this exotic because I refuse to farm lost sectors. However, the buff is kills while your free dodge is active, extend the duration of free dodging, no longer deactivates when you get too far away from enemies, and it will deactivate after using Suspending Slam because that would be stupid. I can't really speak on how good this buff actually is considering I don't use this exotic. However, the devs mentioned that it's really good when using the Powerful Attraction mod, which is the new mod coming next season that will let you collect orbs of power at a distance, and a Reaper mod and Marksman dodge, and apparently it's really good and really fun. I don't know, I'll probably test it when it comes out, but you know, that's pretty neat. On to the second most controversial thing on this article, that being Stompies. They have removed airborne effectiveness penalties, and you will only gain increased speed, slide distance, and improved jumping while your dodge energy is full. This is going to fucking break PvP even more than it already has. Stompies specifically was nerfed in PvP to make it so that it wasn't dominating the competition because the amount of movement options you had as a hunter was way too high to begin with. So having Stompies on top of that made it fucking awful. And I understand that like the AE nerf effectively gimped this exotic so hard that nobody used it, but there are things in the game now to mitigate the AE penalty to at least a base level so you can remove the -50. So I don't understand why you have to remove it, especially when dodges come back so fast that it doesn't even matter that you're tying it to your dodge timer, because nobody's dodging every 30 seconds. They're going to hold it for a little bit longer. And now this just means people aren't going to dodge. Why the fuck would I bother dodging when I can jump into the stratosphere and come down on top of your forehead with a shotgun? There's no reason for this. I personally think Stompy should have stayed in the grave in the PvP sandbox. It has been way too long for it to be dominant, and now it is back in rotation. Have fun, my hunter boys. Alright, now into the more boring stuff. We have Mask of Bakris. They changed it to use a tier 4 non-stacking weapon damage bonus. It's not as complicated as it sounds. It's literally just the same as Surges. It just doesn't stack with Surges. It's being buffed from a 10% buff to a 25% buff in PvE and a 6% buff in PvP. Because of the larger damage numbers, these will no longer be stacking with Surges. Surges at 3 stacks will give you 22%, this gives you 25%, so it's a little bit better than actually stacking 3 Surges, but you do have that extra dodge cooldown, so I'll leave that up to you. On to my Titan friends, Point Contact Brace, which is the Thunderclap exotic arm piece. Lightning strikes will now jolt targets and increases damage per lightning bolt from 50 to 200, and being amplified now increases the damage of the lightning strike by 50% instead of extending the range. I think this is fine. Having range as a benefit in PvE rarely does anything, seeing as we can just get a little bit closer with no particular threat. So I think this is actually pretty great because I have a build for this that I do enjoy using quite a bit, so I can use it with more effectiveness now. Moving on to the Titan's big reworked exotic, No Backup Plans. It will be replacing the old functionality entirely. Nothing will be carried over. What the fuck? Alright, so apparently people are doing maintenance at my house, so if you hear that, I'm sorry. The rework is as follows. Increased AE and reload speed of shotguns. While you have a Void Overshield active, you will have increased damage with shotguns, and shotgun final blows refresh your overshield. Using a Void subclass, rapid shotgun final blows or defeating a powerful enemy with a shotgun grants you a Void Overshield and kicks off your health regen. I think this is pretty fine. Void subclass definitely needs more overshields, so we're always going to have more fun with that. But honestly, I've got nothing to say about it. It's pretty good. Next up, we have Second Chance, where your shield throw melees will now weaken enemies, and stunning a barrier champion with your shield will grant a single full melee charge. Pretty good. That's it. Stronghold, the big sword blocky one. Replace the healing from blocking shots precisely with significant damage reduction, 50% in PvE, 10% in PvP, while blocking with the sword. When you stop blocking, you gain ×2 resto with a duration that increases based on the number of shots blocked. Previously, you had to do a perfect guard to gain the benefits of Stronghold, so making it easier to use is always better in my opinion. Also, perfect blocks are really just an awkward mechanic to pull off, especially with the hail of bullets coming at you every single second. Eternal Warrior, which is an exotic I'm pretty sure most people didn't even know existed. Rapid takedowns with an arc weapon will grant an escalating bonus to arc weapon damage using the same non-stacking damage bonus by Surge mods. So this can go all the way up to tier 4, meaning 25% PvE, 6% PvP, meaning that this exotic will give you more damage than if you stacked 3 leg mods. While you are at max damage ramp up, any arc kills will refresh the duration, and it will give you the tier 4 damage bonus directly after your Fist of Havoc super ends. This is an insane buff, and I might actually use Eternal Warrior now because it has more effectiveness than just my super. So that's really good. Also, Fist of Havoc is getting a pretty big buff, so Eternal Warrior might actually be seeing a lot of use in not only PvP, but a lot in PvE. Pretty good time to be a punchy boy. Capri's Horn. So it just gave Scorch now. That's it. Path of Burning Steps, they have effectively nerfed it a bit. They're removing the stacking damage bonus to prefer the non-stacking damage bonus at 25% PvE, 6% PvP, just like Bakris and just like Eternal Warrior. I think that's fine. It allows you to play into the exotic a bit more without relying on your mods instead of the actual exotic itself, so I'm okay with it. Dune Marchers, the ever-present menace in PvP. They've reduced the chain of damage from 20 meters to 12 meters, and the damage in PvP has been reduced from 85 to 50. That range does affect PvE quite a bit, considering the crowd control of Dune Marchers is kind of its best aspect, and that damage in PvP is rough. So I guess no more Dune Marcher funny moments. And lastly, we have our Warlocks, and I'm just going to start with the elephant in the room, Starfire Protocol. They have reduced the energy gain per instance of damage from 20% to 2.5%. Empowered weapon kills will now grant 20% grenade energy. That is absolutely fucking massive. Not only do you have to rely on actually getting kills in an empowering rift to gain the main benefit, but previously you had to shoot an enemy 5 times to get your grenade back. Now you have to shoot them 40 times. This essentially turns it into a kill-based exotic, because previously you could farm your grenade energy off of like immune shields or phalanxes or whatever, and it only took 5 bullets to get your full grenade energy back. I don't know who's loading anything with 40 bullets just to get their grenade back. It's still a benefit, but it's so minor that you're better off trying to kill the thing instead of just farming it for damage. This also nerfs the damage threat of just sticking it with Wither Horde and throwing nades and demo rockets. It's going to completely nerf that meta. So demo Explode Light, demo Chill Clip, Wither Horde, all of these things are effectively nerfed because Starfire doesn't work the way it used to, which I mean, I'm perfectly fine with. That was just fucking insane how much damage you can do, but I can tell a lot of people are going to be absolutely pissed because their primary source of damage was stick it with a Wither Horde and spam grenades until it dies. So I'm fucking ecstatic about this. Starfire Protocol, I've been wearing that shit for like 2+ years. It has sweat stains on it. Not only does it not have an ornament, but it also sucks dick. How much do you want to bet that this is going to have an ornament in Season of the Deep right after its fucking nerf? I'm calling it right here. I'm calling it. Whew. Okay, done with Starfire, onto the less interesting stuff. Vesper of Radius. Your rifts will emit an arc shockwave every 5 seconds that deals 200 in PvE and 70 in PvP. Enemies defeated by these shockwaves will explode for an additional 100 damage, and if you have an arc subclass equipped, they will also blind enemies. I think this is pretty good crowd control, especially on a healing rift, so I can't really complain. Chromatic Fire. This will increase the damage and range of the explosion created by precision kinetic takedowns. The explosions will also apply a status effect depending on the subclass you have equipped. Blind for Arc, Scorch for Solar, Slow for Stasis, Sever for Strand, and Weaken for Void. That Weaken bit might actually be pretty good. On to the super meme that is Dawn Chorus. They have made it so that the target doesn't need to be scorched to actually get the damage bonus. That's pretty good. Nobody's using Dawn Chorus. Sanguine Alchemy. Standing in a rift will grant a non-stacking bonus to weapon damage matching your subclass damage type. This damage bonus is the equivalent of 2 Surge Leg mods, which is 17% in PvE and 4.5% in PvP. This is a little bit interesting because Empowering Rift is a 20% buff in PvE. This is 17% in PvE, meaning you can get very close to an Empowering Rift's damage while having the safety of a Healing Rift. So this just makes your Healing Rifts even better. So that's actually pretty good for like general play. That's pretty nice. Very impressed. Claws of Ahamkara, in addition to having your extra melee charge, powered melee kills will grant a orb of power, and when heavy-handed is equipped, it just increases the potency of these orbs. It's good. It's good. I got really nothing to say about that. It generates orbs. That's pretty neat. Mantle of Battle Harmony. This one's been pretty niche, but it's actually pretty damn good. They are changing it to the non-stacking damage buff that we've been familiarized with throughout this article. Damage bonus has been buffed from 20% to 25%. It will only stack with weapons that match your subclass, and it will actually stack the damage with Empowering Rifts and other similar damage bonuses. So Empowering Rift plus this means a 40% damage increase, and they've extended the base duration of the bonus from 6 seconds to 10 seconds in PvE and 3 seconds to 5 seconds in PvP. Nothing much else to say there. It does damage. It's pretty cool. On to another controversial change. Ophidian Aspects. They have removed the additional melee range. I don't really have a horse in this race considering I don't play PvP, especially not on a Warlock, so I can't really say much other than this is pretty cool. It does kind of just boil down the exotic to just being a reloader mod though, so that, I mean, okay. And on to our final exotic change, Promethean Spur will grant rift energy for any solar weapon takedown and more energy gained for solar weapon takedowns while standing in a rift. You will also have to be standing in a rift when you get a final blow for the exotic to consume your class ability energy and create a rift at the target's location. But yeah, that wraps up the exotic armor tuning preview, and honestly, really good shit. Really good buffs, really good nerfs. Fuck you, Starfire Protocol. I want to use something else for a change. What do you guys think? Do you think these nerfs and buffs are actually justified? Do you think there's things they should have changed, things that they shouldn't have changed? Let me know down in the comments because I'm actually quite interested in what you have to say. Leave a like, subscribe, go watch my other stuff, and I will see you later. Goodbye.